This is Jordan Tower with JT News. Make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Okay, so 50 Cent puts this post out just now. And now everything's starting to make sense. And I did more research on Tammy Cowins, so I'll break this down to you. So 50 Cent puts this out. I think I'm Big Meech, a rat. He says, the biggest mistake ever was not sustaining his relationship with Tammy Cowins. Her tell-all doc reveals the truth. So it's not about exposing Tammy Cowins. He betrayed Tammy Cowins, Big Meech, by not keeping his relationship with her. As soon as he got out of jail, he probably said, I need my life rights back, and I don't need you as executive producer anymore on this BMF series. It's out. And, you know, she probably thought that he was going to be locked up for the whole series. All right? Let's get into this, okay? Don't forget, this is the final chapter of BMF. 50 Cent's already like, I'm done with this chapter. Maybe it could get worked out. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. We always got to remember this is the entertainment business, right? So sometimes people look past certain things. Like, oh, I know you took a picture with my enemy. But for the sake of the business, let's move this forward because this is a big series, right? And he says, they said this the other day, the truth and nothing but the truth. Who is Tammy Cowins? He said that on Saturday, right? This is a documentary of Tammy Cowins telling her truth, okay? So let's get into it. How did this all begin to spark off and really get to this point? Well, Rick Ross, CEO Rick Ross, who has a song about Big Meech, took a picture with Meech, and Meech knows that that's his enemy, 50 Cent's enemy, and this probably wouldn't be a good move if you're doing business with him. He did so much for you and your family, making sure your son played you, etc. Made sure the show was successful and a hit to keep the legacy going. Big Meech is doing this to antagonize 50. Don't be, don't let that go over your head. He's probably having a little bit of friction with 50 because he wants to, be more involved with the show now that he's out, and he's, probably annoying 50. 50 was dealing with him in jail before. Now Big Meech is out. He's like, I'm Big Meech. You're 50 Cent. I'm bigger than, it's not the truth anymore. But anyways, that's probably what happened. They had some friction, and now he's like, well, I'll promote Rick Ross's car show. I'll have him at my show for my welcome home show, right? And don't forget, maybe a year ago, Southwest T came out like a couple years ago, and he was on set with 50 Cent for the BMF series when it was shot in Detroit. And right after that, he took pictures with Preem's alleged son with free Preem and free Meech merch holding it. As we know, Supreme has something to do with 50 Cent almost losing his life before his career started, right? They had beef. So 50 Cent put this out, and he says, you might not feel like you're making enough money. You should be happy for little Meech. He's making money, blah, blah, blah. Well, now we get to Cuffy. Okay, so back in 2006, Tammy Cowins, who used to date Blue Da Vinci, like 2001, 2, 3, right around that time, she became, I think that Blue Da Vinci put her with Meech to take care of his day-to-day while he was in jail. He got locked up in 2005, and Tammy Cowins was his personal assistant. Now, they developed a relationship, meaning, friendship probably, but, and she became more than an assistant. He trusted her, so he needed people to be able to sign off for him and represent him with his life story. So he signed off his life rights and executive, what do they call it, power of attorney, so she could sign for him in 2008. And Cuffy got involved, which is one of his guys from St. Louis, Cuffy Gatling. And Cuffy had the script wrote for he put his own money up, had the script written for BMF movie, and he was working with Tammy to shop it. Now, around this time, this is the This is the alleged story that has been put out there by Cuffy, Blue Da Vinci, and it's all starting to connect the dots now, right? And 50 didn't believe this before, and I didn't either, but it's all starting now. The way we see Southwest T and Big Meech moving, is it really death before dishonor? Maybe before, not anymore, right? They're out here in their late 50s trying to get something going, right? By any means necessary. 2008, Big Meech supposedly introduces Tammy Cowins to Jack Harvey. Jack Harvey is the officer that chased Big Meech for 20 years. And it was his controlling officer. This is the guy, the agent that caught Big Meech. Now, Jack Harvey, she meets him. She becomes an informant, supposedly, right? CS1, whatever that is, confidential informant, right? So anyways, her first case she supposedly took down was some guy named T. White. She was awarded $54,000 for giving all the information about him, and it was from the sale of his property. He was a white-collar, older guy. I guess he had some affiliation with something like that. I don't know the details on that, so I'm not going to get into it because I didn't investigate that, right? But that's how she gained his confidence to be a good informant, right? And the thinking of this was Big Meech wanted to get out of jail. So her being an informant, the reward would be Big Meech getting out early. It's a way to be a third-party cooperator. That's what they call it. Mind you, this all has to be proven with a lot of stuff. It's kind of proven through paperwork on a certain case that I have that I can go over later because that would be a long video. But in this case, it mentions a guy that Meech was actually locked up with in the beginning. And they actually try to set him up at one point. But the investigation goes from trying to set this guy up to moving to Cuffy because he's a bigger fish, right? The guy's name is, let me get his name right here. It's CS1's also conflicts around. So that eventually CS1 denied that Flannery had any involvement in drug trafficking activities. So let's see. I think the guy's name is Suarez, right? And Meech had been locked up with him, and this was a guy that Francisco Suarez, I think that's his name. And he was a guy that Meech became friends with in jail in 2006, and he had a trucking business. He ended up beating his Fed case and going home. Most people don't beat a Fed case and go home. Maybe who knows what happened with him, but that he's just a guy. He's a pawn in this story, right? So Big Meech keeps in contact with him, and he tries to help Meech out with some stuff. And he puts Tammy in touch with him. So now all these, communication she has with Suarez are being recorded by this agent, right? The agent's name is Jack Harvey. In the midst of this, Jack Harvey resigns, and a new guy is assigned to Tammy Cowins. His name is Keith. And let's see, where's his name? Keith. I'll get to it, but his name is Keith, right? Okay, here's a relationship with Keith Cromer, right? He's the new agent. When they find out that she's talking to Cuffy, because they're still trying to handle Big Meech's life rights for a movie, right? So when they find out she's talking to Cuffy, a big player in St. Louis that was part of BMF, they focus the investigation on him and kind of shy away from Suarez, right? This is all in this case, right? It's United States District Court, Eastern District of Missouri, and it's plaintiff versus Dion Lamont Gatling, Timothy Lamont Rush, and Andre Rush, and Lorenzo Gibbs. it's all in discovery in this case, and there's paperwork on it. So CS1 is identified as someone who has Big Meech's life rights. It's obviously, connect the dots, right? Anyways, they focus it on Cuffy, but eventually it gets discovered because that she's having a relationship with the agent because she had to turn in her phone. When the phone's being used, I guess there's no wiretap. You have to turn it in, and there's pictures found on there of her naked with the agent, or something like that. Also, I think Cuffy's girlfriend or something had an investigator, a private investigator hired to see, what was really going on, who was telling on Cuffy, and it turned out that he also uncovered that Tammy and the agent were smashing at the time. So this automatically threw a lot of stuff out in the case. But to preserve the case, the feds had St. Louis Division get involved, and not everything was dropped. The Suarez thing was dropped. So the guy that they were trying to set up that Meech found in jail and had a relationship with, for trying to move some weight while he was locked up, he got case dismissed because of this relationship. But because St. Louis feds got involved, they were able to maintain the wiretaps from this case with Suarez and move it over to a case against Cuffy, because on the phone calls, they discovered that he had weapons, and then also he might have been involved in taking out a government witness somewhere, like some murders, right? I think he ended up copping out to the guns, but he got like 27 years, something like that, because he's a repeat felon. Anyways, what's going to be uncovered now in this documentary, obviously, is that that she's going to point the blame at Big Meech, that he had me do this. I was just doing his work. I was just working for him. He told me to do all these things. He told me to work with the feds. He put me with the agents, and that would be a third-party cooperator. And yeah, so that's what's being revealed. So Blue Da Vinci was right. Everybody kind of owes him, myself included, I owe him an apology, because I was like, I don't believe him. Because there was so much weird stuff with him, with this limo and everything, and some guy that was on Vlad, I forget his name, Sosa, was painting him as someone that knows. You don't hear about Sosa anymore, do you? Now that everybody's out, you don't hear from Sosa anymore. He was one of the drivers for Big Meech and them. You don't hear from him anymore. But Blue Da Vinci was right about some of the stuff. I don't know if he's right about everything, but he's right. He's on point about some of this stuff, and this is going to ruin Big Meech's legacy. And if this stuff happened, what's there to preserve, right? Just because you're good for part of your life doesn't mean, and you're a stand-up person, doesn't mean, people get desperate. That's why I say, don't do these crimes, guys, okay? There's no honor amongst thieves. When people are so disappointed about this stuff, very rarely do you have someone that has morals and principles and doesn't do whatever it takes for survival. It's called survival of the fittest for a reason. People will do, once you back a rat or anybody into a corner, they will do whatever it takes to survive, okay? Whatever it takes. And that's what's going on here. So this is not good for Big Meech, man. And, I'm sure Tammy Cowins is like, this is like putting me at risk here. Like, I did all this for Meech, and I'm being painted as like this disloyal person on the internet. And, maybe I partook in this stuff, so I can't necessarily say it's not true. But, hey, don't blame me. Blame the real person that was like, had me doing all this stuff. She was making money off of these being an informant, and I'm sure Meech was making her send that money to his family and everything too. Like, this is going to be messy if this comes. If I was Meech, I would call 50 and beg for forgiveness. And you guys can all get in the comments and say, "Why would he do that?" No, this is messy, bro. He should. He just got home. and you're going toe-to-toe with somebody that actually had your best interests. And if he took back his life rights and dismissed Tammy, because Tammy Cowins has no purpose for him anymore, that's crazy. This person helped you, and you had them doing your bad deeds. That's crazy. Come on, man. Anyways, what do you guys think about this? I think it's just disgusting, and everything's smoke and mirrors. And what's there to believe? We can only trust in God, man. God bless. Love you all. Smash that like button. Peace.